Okay, so Jim started this morning talking about plan, do, check, act. And that's something I learned a long time back. And it's a very simple concept, but it's misunderstood. So I thought I'd start off the presentation with plan, do, check, act, which is about starting off with the end in mind. Like I said, very simple concept, but misunderstood. So objective of the presentation is to hopefully take away some key learnings that we've had in GKN, as Dan said. So in the presentation, I've sort of highlighted those key learning points, and let's see how you can take away them and apply them to your supply chains or your organisation. So it's the afternoon and you've had your dinner, yeah? So I need to lighten it up a little bit. GKN has been around for a long time, 250 years. I think we share a birthday with Guinness. We celebrated together. Now, I could do 250 slides on the history of GKN. I don't think you'd like that after dinner. Yeah? So it's more than likely if you drive a car or you've been up in a plane, there's probably a 99% chance you've got a GKN product in there somewhere. That was GKN. I want to talk a little bit first, before we talk about end-to-end processes, about where we are with our sort of lean journey. And at the beginning of this year, the CEO asked me to speak to our investors and our analysts. We have what we call a Capital Markets Day, and we invite them all in, and we talk about the strategy of the company and where it's going, hopefully bump the share price up a little bit from doing that. And he asked to talk about lean. This is the first time we've ever done that for shareholders. So I was quite nervous about making a presentation to these guys. And if you get it wrong, say the wrong thing, so this could be a bit career limiting. But actually, when we talked to them, and we did it in small groups, and we showed them what we'd done in GKN, they were very interested. They started looking at the value stream maps that we had, started looking at our inventory. They asked really good questions. But the main question they asked is, if you're doing all these good things in GKN, what's stopping you from doing it faster, quicker, better, and getting us a better return? I stopped and thought for a while, how do I answer this one? Yeah. And the CEO was just around the corner at this stage in the room, and I said, well, it's leadership. Yeah, that's what stops us progressing, and doing it better, faster. And we had this dynamic in GKN when we want leaders to be teachers. So I'll try and talk a little bit about what that means and about how we're trying to change our leadership in GKN. So this is the storyboard we put together for our Investors Day, and if we can see if I can get the technology to work here. So we use the EFQM model. I don't know if you've heard of that, European Foundation for Quality Management. They've put a model, and in this model it talks about the results that you want as a company, and we have 4 divisions in GKN with 48,000 people and about 150 manufacturing plants. So we describe in our strategies the results we want, and also for our people, our customers, society as well. On the other side of the model is the enabling activities that we're going to do. And in that, there's leadership, there's people, there's our policy deployment, there's our partners and resources, and our processes. And these are the things that we need to do very well to deploy and get the results of our strategy. So we've integrated that, visualized it, and communicated it. And as Tanaki-san said this morning, we're very good at talking about strategy. We've also got to execute that. And we've defined how we execute lean in the organization from our strategy, which is integrated into it, via this thing called value flow, which I'll talk about in a minute, and what do we mean by that. But we do determine it, how we execute it through our people, and we've been on this journey since I joined GKN anyhow in 2003. And these are the business problems we've been working on to help us deploy our strategy. And we're around about here now, which is about improving our product value streams and improving our key business processes. And we're trying to do it in a sustainable way. But there's an issue that we talked about before, which was leadership. And this is my favorite quote from Shingo. He uses and talks about this, and Tanaki-san talked about it this morning about the tool approach. We've got to do something, show people. So we go from a tool-driven approach and applying that to system thinking, and then being principle, embedding it in our culture. So that ultimately, what do we want? We want leaders to act and behave a certain way. So whatever we're doing in business, we can think and act in a lean way. That's a heck of a change, especially for my organisation, that's managed by numbers, because we're manufacturing, our value attribute is not patience and care, ours is cost. To the shareholders, how can we increase value? So we have management by numbers, and to have principle driven by lean versus managing by numbers is a big, big change for GKN, and we're on that journey. So how do we go about that in the organisation? Well, there's one key learning, and I'll bring it up now, is we've got to make it simply understood for senior management. They hadn't done all of this. My CEO didn't know about value streams. What's all this? They read stuff, they read about the tools and techniques. What does that mean to my business? How's it going to help me solve my business problems? Well, we came across this simple statement, and I always remember it's a conversation that I had with the CEO, and it took about 5 minutes, and it made him click about how we can use lean in the organisation. And he talked about increasing shareholder value. And I said, well, what we're doing is actually improving that value flow through the organisation to our customers. And to do that, we're widget manufacturing. We're not patient care. We make widgets and we put them through the organisation, through our suppliers. And hopefully, we align our supporting processes about how we design them, how we count them, how we manufacture them, how we locate them, how we source our suppliers. We align all of that to the needs of our customers. Now, this is a very complicated thing to do in an organisation that's certainly trying to increase shareholder value. So what we've done is define that at different levels of value flow. So this starts off at end-to-end flow, which is our level 3. So our true end-to-end from what we call concept to customer. We then break that down to within our factory and the flow that goes on there. And then we break it down further to the daily work activities that take place. I think Tanaki-san mentioned about the way that we do the work. This level here is what we call the continuous improvement bit. It's owned by the people. It should be done daily. It should be quick improvements that are taught by their team leaders and coached with PDCA. Up here, on level 3, end-to-end flow, it's about that design by senior management need to design that flow to happen. We don't have that. They've never done that. They've sourced things and designed that flow unwittingly by numbers. So that's a real challenge and a real change in the organisation to get this in place. But by just simply sort of stating this, we took out the mystery of what lean's all about. It's about value flow. It's about creating that value flow and getting everybody to understand their role in improving value flow. So we have different tools and techniques depending on where you are in the organisation and what you need to focus on and what your role is. So it's easy to improve value flow, isn't it? You've all been trying this, in where it is in hospitals, in healthcare, in government. It's dead easy. It's dead easy for management. They go to the shop and buy a big red button, press it, and everybody does it. No, it doesn't actually work like that. Like I said, we have a concept called leaders are teachers, not leaders are command and control, which is where we've come from. Very, very different. So this concept of leaders are teachers, we spend a lot of time, in fact, we spent the last 6 years on educating people on that Shingo concept, which is understanding why. The how to do it is actually quite easy. I think someone said it today, it's not rocket science. I think you said it, wasn't it? It's understanding the why we need to do it. So we spent 6 years and probably millions of pounds educating our leadership to understand why we need to improve. So I'll just give you a flavour of some of the improvements we've been doing. That's our experiments and where we are. This is the new CEO. Our old CEO is retiring, our new CEO, so we can get CEOs to play with Lego. It's great, But he did actually go out and map some flow after that, and make the improvements after, And he was a part of doing that and learning how to do that, So he can coach and teach others on that. Is he an expert? No, he's not. Can he ask better questions now as a leader? Yes. Because he understands why, because he's experienced it. So, that was a very expensive learning curve for GKN. getting leaders to understand why we need to improve. Now we need to be better at applying it, and changing our management system. So we are now learning how to break down the problems in the organization, what problems we have to solve or work on next, and how to do that, and how to change our management style to do that. So the last 2 years, we started to deploy value streams within the organization. And, we did all of that lean training. The good leaders went and did it. Other leaders didn't do it. Senior leaders pretended we implemented value streams, didn't sustain the things because we didn't think about how we were applying it and connecting it to the business results. By using problem solving, practical problem solving, using the A3 approach, we now break down the problems and we connect what we're implementing to achieving the business results. I know that sounds logical, but we didn't do it before. And this comes right down from senior management, from their strategy, right down to the business units, right down to individual value streams. And doing that now has accelerated our journey, it's accelerated our learning in the organization about how to solve business problems. So, it's key lesson number 2, understand why to change first, and connect it to the business results, make it meaningful. So Dan asked me here to talk about end-to-end supply chain and processes, and for me that journey started in 2000 in my last company. It was an automotive company, and we did make that change. We did. We changed from end-to-end processes. I worked in a company that made exhaust systems. The profit margins were very small, sort of 5%. And we had to do something different. And we focused and realigned the organization and roles around end-to-end processes. So we had a platform manager that was responsible for profit and loss. None of the plants made profit and loss anymore. And we realigned. And they looked at it, what we call this concept to customer. At that stage, we'd sort of copied lean off Toyota, and we got some coaching, and we'd had 10 years at doing lean in the plant. And Dan and Jim wrote the book here, sort of seeing the whole, and we started to do some experiments because we'd got a load of consultants in this company, and they told us, outsource everything to China. It's cheap out there. Great. So we did. We were good at execution. We were good at policy deployment. We were very good at it. And then we started to have problems in our supply chain. So we came up with a workshop, and we started to work on the seeing the whole. And the first 5 two-day workshops where we looked at our major product platforms in that company, we'd identified and saved 15 million euros. And that was a huge amount. And we'd been doing lean in the plant for 10 years at that point, and we didn't realize where the value was. So, this is a Chinese proverb, this goldfish. What are the goldfish up there for? Because we're so immersed in it, the fish are the last to see the water. And that's where we are with our supply chains. And that stands for GKN as well. So we're trying to see that whole. But it's very hard because we're so in it, we don't see the water anymore. So, what are we looking at when we look at our end-to-end flow? And this is the sort of third learning point. It has to be designed. When I did lean, we tried to learn lean from Toyota originally. They didn't teach us mapping. We kept that aside. The MEFA mapping wasn't there, so we didn't understand flow. We were just doing lean in a plant. But we need to design processes end to end, and senior management have to do that. And like I said, we're manufacturing, we chased cost. What we didn't chase was the risk. And you have to design flow to include the risk as well. So I want you to really think about what are the risks in your processes and how do we handle that. I think John says it's variation, in all sorts of form. We call it risk. But you need to design that, otherwise it's going to impact that customer value. So what are the types of risks that you get nowadays? And the manufacturing world's moved on. We're global now. We are located everywhere. So what are the types of risks that impact our end-to-end processes? Well, first of all, energy costs. I know my energy bill has gone up at home. And now, actually, inventory yeah, and how we actually move the physical product, yeah, as a cost item in GKN, in some divisions, it's meaningless compared to the energy costs that we have. We have atomizing of steel and metal, and those costs are huge, yet we weren't looking at them and the fluctuations in them. So the logic of location is there. You know, it might be profitable to move to a low energy cost country or a different type of energy. Yeah? So we need to look at that. Material. I don't know if you've come across this in Kendal, where I live in the UK. I've had this. Yeah, they've taken the manhole covers, they've stolen it. Yeah, because material costs now, yeah, are so valuable. Yeah, so scrap and recycling costs have gone up, and this fluctuation is massive. It can, be 30-40% change in a year. How do we handle that in our supply chain? Fuel. I think it was Drew Locker. I was reading an article the other day of Drew Locker, and he was quoting something that the sort of fuel and logistic charges in Asia had gone up for between 100 to 200% in a year. Oh my word. Huh? How do you cope with that? What's the risk of that? Currency. When you've got global supply chains, currency, the fluctuations between countries, we wipe millions off overnight due to not understanding that or hedging bets the wrong way. Tax. We've located manufacturing company and made our supply chain complicated just for tax breaks. What's the impact on the supply chain and customer value for doing that? And then, of course, the example I gave before, chasing low labor, low cost, yeah, only. So looking at one number and look at the inflation in China. And in fact, in China now, some of our competitors are actually moving in China, in country, chasing costs in country because it's lower to go into the countryside than it is in the cities now. How crazy is that? How sustainable is that in your supply chain? So what's the risks there? So here's some more, yeah? If you've been to India, yeah? I've just seen the guys on these, yeah? Premium freight, yeah? In GKN, in 1 year, we spent £24 million on premium freight because of the issues in logistics in our supply chain. Yeah? The design of logistics, was it fit for purpose? Yeah? Did we do cross-docking? Did we do warehousing? How do we design it? When we have complicated supply chains, we tend to ship things in large batches. Yeah? So it's not we manufacture in large batches then as well. We have to hold more inventory then. We have more risk of damaging things. Yeah? Same here. Did we understand the risk in our logistics? Warehousing, wow, yeah. We did have in GKN. It's the Raiders of the Lost Ark. You see the warehouse at the end full of boxes. That's what we had. What's the cost of all of that? What's the cost of the people there? It's not just the inventory, it's the cost of the people, it's the cost of the equipment you need to move all of that around. It's the cost of waiting, lost customer value, and of course damage again. So there are also other supplier issues as well and risks. Bad quality from suppliers in low-cost locations. Bad service to customers due to long lead times, being inflexible. Capability of our suppliers. That's what we've gone, where we've not got control of it, we've outsourced it, and they are not capable of delivering the process. Poor communications, and that stems into this, cultural differences as well. You talked about the differences between West and this morning. Yeah? All of that causes issues in the supply chain and how we communicate, how we pass information on. Response to problems. In one of the examples I'm going to show you, we had a global supply chain. We had a problem in China with our quality, and our response time was so long, it cost us $1 million to sort one problem out. And I've been there in an automotive company where I had to literally sort out with my own hands 40,000 door latches. Yeah. Because we batch built, we made our complicated supply chains and didn't understand the risk of it going wrong. Also, here's some more. Complex planning. Yeah? Because we've got a complicated supply chain. Poor information flow due to that. Yeah? Different types of information flow. We've not all aligned with our suppliers. All of this as well, especially when you're going to China. Yeah? We've had quite a lot of that. Copying our products and services, taking the value out of the organisation. Bribery and corruption is something that we have to look out for now. Now we've got legislation on that in the UK as well. Safety, yeah, which extends into also morality as well. Yeah, we don't want to kill people in GKN, including our suppliers and our supply chain. Yeah, we need to operate in a safe way. We have respect for people is one of our values. All the other risks as well as setting up in different locations. You know, did we go to low cost locations? Did we over automate? We've done all of that. We've learned all of the things that we shouldn't have done, we have done, thinking of just isolated cost items instead of the risks around that. Over automation is huge, and it makes you so inflexible. Mainly then due to customer demand we can't serve. Did we right-size equipment, or did we buy the biggest, best, fastest, quickest sort of engineering-driven equipment? Did we right-size the location? You know, we still struggle with this today. We have the existing assets. Why can't we right-size them, put them near the customer, get better response? No, you wouldn't do this in medical. You wouldn't have one ward in China and one in the UK, would you? Well, we do it in manufacturing. Yeah? Capacity was up there as well. And I think Dan already mentioned it about the piece price. Yeah, chasing piece price versus total cost, yeah, and having no understanding because a purchasing department is driven on the goals that they have, which is on piece price and cost reduction. Environmental impact and recycling is another one. Yeah, how does that impact and the risks that brings? Sustainability now as well. Yeah, we're supposed to be, you know, respecting the environment, but what are we driving there as well? And the biggest ones we talked with John before, which is demand variation. And that's what problems you are solving in your hospital today, is that demand variation problem. We have that in manufacturing just the same. And the more complicated the supply chain, the bigger the bullwhip. You're doing it between wards, we're doing it between continents and suppliers, yeah? It gets very complicated then. Some of the other risks now as well that we see, yeah? Political instability, yeah? We've had things sat in docks and delays because of all of that. Yeah, we can't get the parts because of all this going on. Of course, the economy and the crisis that's taking and the effects that has on us as well. And then natural disasters. This morning, I think there was another earthquake in Turkey, wasn't there? Yeah, last night. And we've had lots of disruptions due to that as well. So all these risks, did we think about them when we designed our processes in the first place? Well, we asked ourselves, did we actually design our end-to-end processes? No, you guys are just starting to tackle yours, yeah? We didn't, and we didn't with all those risks into account. We designed our end-to-end processes by looking at numbers and not looking at the flow and not looking at the risks in the flow. So, where do you start with all of that? That's great in manufacturing, it's great to be there, isn't it, yeah? Maybe not, yeah? So what business problems do we need to solve first? Well, first of all, you know, we started to look at it at a real high level. What kind of problems have we got in our end-to-end processes? And we did the same as you guys, started to map it out. Well, we did this with a diagnostics tool. We looked at all of our supply chain processes. And what did we find in each of our divisions? And the colours here are each of the divisions, yeah? Well, we found problems. We found some more problems. We found even more problems. We found problems again. We found even more problems. We had a lot of problems to solve. And if you group that together, which we did, into some basic areas, what do we need to work on next? Well, while we were doing this, we actually had the crisis came along in 2008. And that got us very focused. It took us out as our comfort zone. It was a good thing. I think, Dan, remember you saying that, you know, the crisis is a good thing. It was for us, yeah, because it got us very focused. And we had a conversation with our senior management. And I always remember talking to the CEO. He said, we got inventory, it's gone the wrong way. It's gone the wrong way by 60 million from having complex supply chains. And we tried lots of things out. And he eventually turned to me and said, what do we need to do about it? What's the problem? That's what he said to me. I said, this might be a bit career limiting, this next statement. I said, well, you guys are. You're the problem. Well, why is that? He looked quite puzzled at this time. And I said, well, You said we want to save 50 million. You've passed that down to your, the CEOs below them. Here's your 10 million. They've passed it to their managing director. Here's your 2 million. They've passed it there to your plant manager. Here's your $500,000 to save. That's the problem. Well, no, that's good. We just cascaded the goals down. That's great. Where in that have we told people what to work on? What do we need to focus on? That supply chain has got thousands of problems to solve, as we've seen. Yeah? What are we going to work on next? Well, we used the data from that analysis and we picked 3 things. And at that stage of our history, we had 580 million in inventory. And in that year, we saved 100 million within 9 months. And just concentrating and doing 3 things very well. And we set up an Obeya room, a war room. We managed it. We solved the issues around it. So it can be done. Did we sustain that, though? No, because we didn't change our management system. So we need to change our management system, and to do that, we need to change our management thinking. And this is where we, first of all, had to come up with a process about how can we show management to think differently. Why do we need to show them to think differently in our end-to-end processes? So we used the process, the extended value stream from the book, and we brought in John Darlington and my guys. We mapped out one of our processes, and we used this process to do that. And basically, I think someone mentioned it, we just followed the book. Yeah, it's easy. We strategically looked at which platform should we follow as one of our product platforms. We then mapped it out. That's the bill of material for one of our product platforms. We then looked at who should come along to that, who are the important suppliers. We got the demand data for that product platform, and we looked at that. We analysed it. Then we mapped out a current state. We involved our suppliers in this. We taught them how to lean that up and synchronise it, and we came up with a future state. And John did the initial analysis with this. And my guys put the maps together. And then we invited Jim and Dan to come in as part of our strategic training for our management to educate them on why we need to change. And he gave the example of Tesco's. And then he showed and went through with our management team, this platform that we mapped out. And I think there was quite a lot of swearing going on at one stage, wasn't there? Yeah? They didn't actually believe it. But this was data. John got the data out, my guys got the data out, and this is what we came up with. This was for a prop shaft that goes on a Ford pickup truck, and it's probably the smallest runner we do, and it's quite high value. It was for 450 parts a week, and what we found is the lead time for it was 97 weeks. For 450 parts a week, we held nearly $700,000 worth of inventory. We had that one quality problem, and it cost us $1 million to sort it out and wiped out the profit for the next 3 years. Now, that's what we found, and that was a bit of a shock, and it was a turning point for our management as well. Of course, the aerospace guys were saying, hey, you automotive guys are really thick. You put this in place. Who designed this? Who designed this? That's what one of them said. The fact is we didn't design it. It just happened by numbers. And that was based on a strategy that was said, optimize capacity. We had consultants come in and say, you must optimize your capacity. You can avoid spending 40 million on CapEx if you optimize and group all your products together and put them in one place, maximize your assets. We made our supply chain hugely complicated. And this is what it resulted in. Of course, we analysed and took this on and looked at what are the issues in flow, what can we work on next. And this is good. Without changing anything from footprint or location, if we just leveled the information flow and the demand, we went down from 97 weeks to 18 weeks lead time. And we took half the inventory from doing nothing, just from getting better information flow. Now, we've taken that on since those years, and we've actually changed our strategy. So strategically, we now do things differently. And as Dan said, we've now got a strategy to localize the manufacturing based on the learning from this. And we've changed our sourcing guidelines, which I'll go through in a minute. And why have we done that? We don't use warehouses anymore now. And we design our logistics together with the logistics supplier. And we also start to include risk now, and not just the financial aspect. And as you can see, the original 97 weeks, we have some, the original prop shaft that we're making, we don't do anymore. Yeah, in fact, we got rid of it because it wasn't profit making. We have a very similar part now, and for that very similar part, the lead time now varies, but at a minimum, it's 11 days. And we've gone from 97 weeks to 11 days for the same parts. And that's from a volume of 25,000 a year to 220,000 a year for the same parts. So this is what you can do when you understand the flow and redesign it and change your strategy. And it's the same just in one country. This is in India, where we set up and going out to India to meet Indian market. This is the flow. And in fact, the CEO that I showed you before, this was his project. And he looked at this and he headed it up. So we can even relocate in one country and make a fair. We have drive shafts that go in a car, and the drive shaft did 15,000 kilometers before it even got on a car. Yeah? And the logical location and analyzing that flow, we got it down to 1,500 kilometers. Yeah. So all of this, what has it taught us in GKN? Well, the fact that we have to have a strategy, the way that we go about things, that's based on flow, and that's what we changed. It's not based on 5 financial numbers anymore, it's based on flow. And if we've developed this strategy, and if we'd gone back originally and had a strategy based on flow, in a low volume, complex prop shaft, we would never have gone and outsourced it to Asia or China because of what we know now. But the fact is we have changed our strategy and we are looking at that. So that's a key learning for me, is make the flow into your strategy and combine it's got to be, and then execute that. So this is a strategy matrix now, and it's something for you to think about, if you're sourcing in manufacturing or looking at your processes. What are the risks there? Currently we look at costs this way when we source up projects strategically, but what are the risks as well, and how are we going to address them? Total cost was in there as well. We've been doing some experiments on that for the last 2 or 3 years, putting into value streams, doing P&L by value stream to understand cost better. And now we're doing some more experiments with John Darlington on how to put a cost to lead time, And all we're trying to do is make better financial decisions. And John is helping us out with some experiments there. And we're starting off with level 2 in the plant first, and then we're going to extend that into the supply chain so that we connect the financials to flow, and that will help our leaders see even more. Ultimately, what's the ultimate goal of where we want to be? Well, the ultimate goal for us is to avoid all of that in the first place and have a winning the business process that takes into account all of those costs and risks. And we aren't there yet, but we're starting. So we're going to use the EVSM process and change it, adapt it to suit us, to address some of those risks that I talked about. So now, for instance, we're going to have maybe for energy, we'll have an ABC type risk rating on our extended value stream analysis. An A is a high risk, C is a low risk. And then we can drill down, look at the bigger picture and drill down where we need to on the high risk items. And we're going to do that for all of these types of risks. And we're going to do that up front as we win the business. So we can address risks and understand the cost implications of doing that up front. So, then we're thinking about the water around us, rather than reacting to it. And we spent a lot of time and a lot of money reacting to the problems that we didn't need to have in the first place if we designed it to flow. So sort of summarizing that, just think about this in your own organization. Have you made lean simply understood? Does everybody understand why they need to change? And have you connected it to the business results? Not designing flow will erode customer value. Everything has got to be designed. We've got to think about that, and we've got to use the tools and techniques, as Tanaka-san told us this morning, and they will help us. They will give us structure. There is no silver bullet. You need to break down the problem, and we need to use management tools and a management system to do that and act to the right problems. And also, Make flow part of your strategic thinking. We are strategic thinking in the West. Yeah? We can't get away from it. It's our habit. Yeah? But we need to integrate flow into that thinking, yeah? And not managed by command and control and just numbers. Yeah? We need to be a lot more clever at that. So that's our learnings from GKN. So I hope you value that and think about it and take it back to your own organisation. Thank you.